prevented him from taking the start of race 2. And there we're watching the 30 car lineup at the back. We've got the green flag waved at the back of the grid then. The race about to get underway. And it does so. Good start by Lyndon Fruston there from second position on the grid, and he's not quite going to lead into the first corner because John Village sweeps ahead. It's Charles Cooling in third place at the moment. They head through Abbey for the first time. It's a 15-minute race, of course, and we've got the 3 different classes here. The Class C for mostly the historic 750 Formula cars, but Class A as well for the normally aspirated Austin 7s, and Class AS for the supercharged Austin 7s, although there's only Timothy Roebuck's car representing that class here this weekend. But nice to see some of the standard Austin 7s going through as well. And also at the back of the field there, we can see Clive Niels Jeffrey, the local man from Northampton.
Those cars running in Class A, running on very narrow tyres indeed, that take a bit of time to get up to temperature. So there was the odd lock-up of brake and tyre into Village for the first time of asking. But John Village scampering away into the distance in the early stages, as he did earlier on. There's one car in strife, though, on the Hanger Straight, which...
it's number 12.
Is it Ben Mile again?
Ben Mile again. He was a retirement from the first race as well, and he's not even got half a lap into this race before he's put his hand in the air. He may well, if he can coast the car down the hill from Stowe into the pit lane, he'll be all right, but not sure whether he'll be able to do that or not. So that's a great shame for Ben Mile that he is out of the race in the Gerald at this early stage. The leaders, meanwhile, are heading through to complete the first lap of the race, I can tell you. It is John Village that is leading the way from, in second place, Lyndon Fruston, number 23. In third place, the number 3 car of Charles Cooling. In fourth place, it's the 65 car of Jörg Schneider. In fifth place, it's number 42, Timothy Sage. And in sixth place, it's the number 72 car of Trevor Slatter. John Village's lead at the end of the first lap, Johnny, was 2.16 seconds over Lyndon Fruston. And a reminder that the best lap in the early race was for John Village. It was a 1:28.35, which was just 11 hundredths outside of the lap record as well.
Back onto the Hanger Straight they go, and yeah, 2 seconds looks about that, doesn't it? Stretching back to Lyndon Fruston in second. Charles Cooling in the golden coloured number 3. Emerging now back into sunlight underneath the bridge. They're catching, or rather Timothy Sage has had a really good run in this opening section of the second lap, because he was toying with third position Cooling. They work their way through Stowe again.
It's the number 3 car of Charles Cooling, in fact, that's made it through ahead of Lyndon Fruston there. The two of them were side, 3 of them together. They are about to head down to the link section of the circuit as well, as we can pick them up once again as they are about to go onto the Hanger Straight.
Yeah, so John Village long way ahead, then Timothy Sage, who's made the gap. But what about the squabble behind? A quartet of cars. 23 in the middle is Lyndon Fruston. To his left, Charles Cooling. Over to the right-hand side and trying to make ground is Jörg Schneider. And tucked in behind, Trevor Slatter, trying to recover from actually what was a much better position on the road than the officials gave him because of that misdemeanor overtaking under yellow flags. A big no-no, so quite rightly he was put further back down the pack. In the 72 car now, trying to find a way by all 3. 2 wheels on the grass for Lyndon Fruston. Can he get it? Can it stopped into Vale? Yes, just about, but that was harum-scarum stuff. And whipping across the nose, Charles Cooling, who will be retaining 4th place.
He will indeed. Of course, he's locally based at Brackley, just down the road. He's works in composites at the Alpine F1 team as well, and he's in there out there in the DNC Mark III Reliant 1972 car. That's Charles Cooling in 4th at the moment, and he's doing his best here to keep all the drivers at bay, although not necessarily succeeding, because Lyndon Thruston has gone down the inside on the way into Village and taken 4th place off him. Lyndon in the number 23 car, the HCS Mark II, very much the prime mover behind historic 750 Formula, helps to chivvy along all the competitors, get some really good grids out there. And I think we've got 20 cars that started this race, so I think we had a few more qualify and take part in race 1, but 1 or 2 have fallen by the wayside, I'm afraid. As there we see the Tim Mile car be lapped there by 42, which is Tim Sage. There's an unusual number of Tims racing in historic 750 Formula, I've noticed. As we watch the next battle go through.
Spinner.
Got a spinner in the background. Do you want to take a venture as to who that might be?
Tough from that distance.
It was. That's an unfair question, isn't it?
I'll stand my ground.
Okay.
I was just trying to work out who was ahead of that car, though, to try and place it in the order. Outside of the top 10 would be my guess of it, but I'll look out at the end of this lap for a long lap time.
Okay. Well, John Village has done a short lap time. He's just done the best lap of the race. So he has done the best lap of the race, 127.47 at least during the course of this race so far. The lap record for these cars, yes, has gone, because that's underneath Greg and Thruston's lap record, which is a 128.24. So a new lap record there for John Village in his Village V2. He has been in very good form this season, winning 3 of the races before this weekend and adding a further victory this morning. Looks like he's going to make it 5 wins so far by the time the day is out. Did you work out who that car with the long lap was?
We're still waiting, actually.
No, okay.
So it's been a fairly lengthy delay. 149.34. John Ingram.
Could have been, couldn't it? Yeah,
that's a lot slower than he has been going.
Might work, mightn't it, for the number 19, the Arthur Mark II, one of the historic 750 Formula cars, so that would work in terms of what it looked like. Timothy Roebuck, talking of one of the Tims, he's leading the Supercharged Austin 7 class by dint of being the only car in it, and that was the number 5 car, which is Michael Harvey. He's currently 2nd in the Class A for the normally aspirated Austin 7s, behind Charlie Plain Jones at the moment. Meanwhile, this battle continues to go on for 3rd and 4th position. Jörg Schneider, the Swiss, against Lyndon Thruston.
And they are separated by not much real estate at all, heading around Club Corner and back onto the Hamilton Straight. Trevor Slatter watching brief in 6th spot in the number 72 at Centaur Mark 11, and now heading towards the right-hander at Abbey. It is the 65 car of Jörg Schneider, with his head well and truly above water when you compare it to these 2 cars behind, although up the inside, having said that, no, complete rubbish, because Lyndon Thruston is right with him. It was a larger gap, I thought, across the line, but no, Thruston has closed up, under braking into Village and really challenging Schneider through the traffic now, as well as John Village reaches Hanger Straight for the 6th time.
What's noticeable about so many of these cars, with being front-engined, of course, is that there's so little between the driver and the rear of the car. Really not much to choose between them and the back of the car at all. You can certainly see that looking at Jörg Schneider's number 65 car, for example, which we just were, and we just are again. Look how far to the back he sits in that Arthur. And likewise with Lyndon Thruston's HCS. And so too John Village, actually, in the Village V2 that leads the race. That's the car of his own design and construction, a replica of the car that he raced in the 1970s in 750 Formula. So there's Lyndon Thruston now in number 23, turning his way through Club Corner, still chasing after Jörg Schneider. We have got about 6 minutes of the race left to go.
Trevor Slatter out of Club Corner. There's Charles Cooling as well, still with the novice cross on the back. He will have earned a few more signatures this weekend. An earlier race today didn't go to plan, but not because of his error. It was a mistake, some contact immediately in front, and he had to loop around at the start of the Hanger Straight. Thruston to the inside now of Schneider. Just about close enough, but it would have been a daring overtake into Village. Village, an awkward corner. It is hard enough stop to fashion an overtake, but you need to know that the car that you're trying to dive underneath has seen you and will give you ample room. Very close indeed now between Tim Sage, Jörg Schneider and Lyndon Thruston as they work their way onto the hanger straight. Car 42 heading the battle for second position.
Yeah, so Tim Sage at the head of this group, the 65-year-old from Dorset. He's a panel maker, vintage cars, and an artist as well. So he's holding on to second place at the minute in this Mallock Mark IV with the Ford Pre-Crossflow 997cc engine that is owned by Bill Pearce, the car. He's also the team manager as well, who's originally bought this car from the Mallock family. And it's good that he's got that car back out. But he's made a bit of a mistake there, has he, at Club Corner? Certainly a different line being taken by Jürgen Schneider, trying to go around the outside of him. There's the back marker, Charlie Plain Jones, that's in the mix as well. But it's going to be side by side for second place as they come up and over the line. Timing keepers separate them by only 7/100ths of a second. Indeed, those three cars only by 2/10. It's still going to be Sage that's ahead of this little group. So second as he turns into Abbey, ahead of Schneider, and Thruston fourth and third of that group.
All about momentum in these cars that are relatively low powered, although they weigh next to nothing as well. So an 850 or in some cases 750cc engine is ample, but if you do lose your way slightly through that technical end to the Silverstone International lap, through the Vale and through Club, then you might be a sitting duck. And actually Tim Sage did well not to get too distracted as he headed through the final sequence of corners there. Now onto the hanger straight though. Lyndon Thruston not quite as close as he was, and Trevor Slatter even more distant in the orange-nosed 72 car. So just getting a bit more strung out when actually, 40 seconds ago, Tim Sage was under massive pressure from both Schneider and Thruston.
Yeah, absolutely right. So they're turning their way through Stowe again, dropping down the Vale towards the left-hander. There's John Village in the lead by 7 seconds or so from the rest, and Sage, as you can see, as Johnny was saying, is now a little bit more comfortable in second place for the moment, at least in this Mallock that he repanels himself. He's smart at those two. And there's the 65 car of Schneider, probably a couple of seconds behind him now. 1.5, 1.6 seconds in actual fact behind him, and similar gap back actually to Lyndon Thruston in fourth. Trevor Slatter is about 4 seconds behind him in fifth, and Charles Cooling a second or so behind him in sixth place. Those two just turning through Abbey Corner now.
Slatter was quicker than Thruston on that lap by over a second, but he's got about 4 to find to be back with the fourth place car. Charles Cooling, as mentioned, has a car that is similar in pace to Trevor Slatter and at times Lyndon Thruston, but Charles going a little bit the wrong way there, 1.2 seconds away from the rear bumper of Trevor Slatter. There is Cooling's car, Slatter just ahead. On the previous lap, the yellow car was a bit slower than Slatter, but they're swapping and changing best lap times between the two of them on each lap. That's the next battle to liven up, I would say. We are running out of time though, just 2 more minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's the final knock-ins of this race now. Looks like John Village has got it very much in control. In Class A for the normally aspirated Austin 7s, Charlie Plain Jones is over half a minute clear of his nearest rival, Michael Harvey there. So Charlie Plain Jones looking good for a victory. He was second in the class, behind Hugo Pickup, who is in this race as well, isn't he? Yes, he's there in third position, but not showing the form that he did earlier on. Actually, is Charlie Plain Jones going a bit quicker? Well, actually, interestingly, no. In the early race, Charlie Plain Jones did a 1:41. In this race, his best lap is a 1:44. But Hugo Pickup in the early race did a 1:37 and has only managed a 1:47 in this race. So I can only imagine that there's some fluid or something down on the track that we're not particularly seeing that has made such a vast difference in the lap times.
Yeah, particularly in Class A, as you say. I mean, Pickup's right with Harvey, and David Luce isn't far away either to decide the podium positions in Class A. Charlie Plain Jones should have it sewn up at this stage, particularly as we're either on the last lap or about to start it. John Village will be at Stowe now. 40 seconds left, might be able to squeeze one more lap out of this as he continues to nurse a 6.3 second advantage.
I'm doubting my own theory now because Timothy Sage has just done the best lap of the race, another new lap record, a 1:27.9 2.14. So I'm going to probably scrap that theory about some fluid down on the track. Or if it is, it's fluid that only affects Austin 7s and not the Class C cars at all, because there are some quick lap times being done there. John Village is just coming through Club Corner and onto the start and finish straight, the Hamilton Straight. Does he get the checkered flag this time, or does he get the last lap call? Well, there's no sign of the checkered flag, so he's going to go on to his final lap now. And the gap to Tim Sage has dwindled dramatically, because it's down to just 2.38 seconds now. And on that last lap, Timothy Sage was 4 seconds faster than John Village. So could we see some late drama here?
Well, he was less than 5 seconds away from that being the last lap. I suppose John Village could have eased off had he fully known, but I don't think that was the intention, and therefore the reason why a 6-second gap has become only 2. Checkered flag not being displayed, so there's no confusion there either, although he's got a checkered flag wrapped round on the helmet, I notice, as John Smart lid that for racing this weekend at Silverstone, and that's a much more healthy advantage than 2.5 seconds, I'd say. They'll reach the hangar straight.
Perhaps he was thinking it was going to be the last lap, eased off, and then realised it wasn't, and thought, oh, better get going again then, hadn't I? Especially if he spotted Timothy Sage's car and his mirror was only 2.38 seconds behind him. So he turns his way through Stowe for what definitely will be the final time, but we've now had 16 minutes of this 15-minute race. He drops down through the Vale towards the left-hand Vale corner itself, and he's going to make it a perfect day. 2 wins from 2 in the Raceparts historic 750 Formula Series. He's got the JV on the side of his car. Not John Virgo, but John Village. Turning his way through the final corner, and this time he does see the checkered flag. So it's John Village that takes the victory. The gap in the end, 2.09 seconds, so it has come down both into the 129s on the final lap, but Timothy Sage it was that took second. Jörg Schneider has come through to take his second podium of the day in the number 65 car, so well worth that trip from Switzerland for 3rd position. 4th place goes the way of number 23 Lyndon Thruston. In 5th place it's number 72 Trevor Slatter. In 6th place it's number 3 Charles Cooling. And then we wait for the next cars to come through, if indeed there are any more to come through on the leading lap. Obviously a number of cars have been lapped during the course of that race. The next car on the time screen is Roger Rowe, I think, in 55 in 7th position. Is this him? Yeah, that's him going over the line now to take 7th place. Timothy Roebuck will be 8th in his Austin 7, which is the only supercharged car in the race. Nigel Howard 9th and Ian Grant 10th. It's another dominant performance there, Johnny, by John Village.
Certainly was, yeah, most impressive, and there hasn't really been anybody else to match his consistency through the course of the day, despite Tim Sage closing the gap to 2 seconds. I think that was more of an element of John hoping that he might get to the end of the race with only 10 laps. In the end, it was 11, and yeah, well, it caught his attention. The number 42 Roundel, looming larger in the mirrors from Tim Sage. Equally, Sage had managed to shake the pressure from Jörg Schneider, who will finish on the podium. But plenty of good racing in the midfield, not least for those podium positions away from the win, that is, in Class A. Michael Harvey getting 2nd place for the Austin 7s ahead of Hugo Pickup.
Yep, so the historic 750 Formula cars will be back in action again soon. That's at Cadwell Park in September, and they finish off at Mallory Park in October. A few different championships that we've seen this weekend and series doing that. So John Village it was that took the victory then in car number 29. He was 2.09 seconds ahead of number 42 Tim Sage in 2nd place. In 3rd place the 65 car of Jörg Schneider. He was 6.29 seconds off the win. 4th to number 23 Lyndon Thruston. 5th to 72 Trevor Slatter. 6th to number 3 Charles Cooling. 7th to 55 Roger Rowe. 8th to number 18 Timothy Roebuck, who won his class. 9th was number 2 Nigel Howard, and Jerry Fincham rounded out the top 10 in number 88. Further back, Ian Grant was 11th in car number 20. 12th was number 19 John Ingram. 13th was number 49 Peter Coombs. Then the Austin 7 cars, 22. Charlie Plain-Jones was 14th. Michael Harvey was 15th in number 5. 16th was number 69 Hugo Pickup, and 17th and 4th of the Austin 7s was number 99 David Lewis, and then I think most of the rest of the cars didn't quite make it to the checkered flag. So that was the historic 750 Formula Series, the Raceparts historic 750 Formula Series for today.